Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome to Guns N' Roses Central. And today we're talking about the 1-year anniversary. Yes, today is the 1-year anniversary of Guns N' Roses' abysmal show at the Apollo Theater. I'm going to tell you why I have the attitude I do, but let's talk about 2017. You know, the 30th anniversary of Appetite for Destruction was coming up. A lot of people are wondering what was the band going to do. I had that same question. In fact, Jeff and I were going to go to LA ahead of the anniversary so we could go to whatever show Guns N' Roses was going to announce. We felt pretty confident they were going to play another show at the Troubadour, or maybe the Whiskey, or maybe they do a special show at the Staples Center or at Dodger Stadium like they'd done the previous year. And then, out of the blue, about a month before Guns N' Roses have their 30th anniversary of Appetite for Destruction, it's announced that they're going to be playing an invitation-only show at the Apollo Theater. So this was ahead of Guns N' Roses launching their North America leg of the Not in This Lifetime tour. It was a way to promote that tour as well as, promote the 30th anniversary of Appetite. So according to the press release at that time, the Apollo concert was going to be scheduled for July 20th, and it was being hosted in conjunction with digital radio service Sirius XM, which I'm a subscriber of. So they said subscribers will have a chance to hear the performance via the upcoming limited run Guns N' Roses radio station, which we'll talk about in a bit. That was being added to Sirius XM's lineup as of July 13th, as well as on Howard Stern's 101 channel, and Howard Stern even announced the concert on his June 21st broadcast. So according to the press release, they said Guns N' Roses started off in Los Angeles in 1985 and went on to conquer the world with a swaggering, unrepentant rebel rock and roll, and we're thrilled to have them perform this exclusive show for Sirius XM at the world-famous Apollo Theater, said Sirius XM President Scott Greenstein. Our subscribers will get a once-in-a-lifetime experience seeing the ultimate rock and roll band live before the next leg of their national tour kicks off. So SiriusXM was going to be hosting a contest for fans hoping to attend the Apollo show, with one grand prize winner being offered an all-expenses-paid trip and front-row tickets, as well as tickets and travel to another show on the Not in This Lifetime tour. So people were able to enter on the Sirius website, and according to Variety.com, the Apollo show was going to mark Guns N' Roses' first appearance at the venue, and it was booked the day before the band's Appetite for Destruction LP marked its 30th anniversary. Now, it's been a year, of course, since this Apollo show, and SiriusXM has done similar kind of promotions with some other bands. They've done it with U2, they've done it with Dave Matthews, who currently has a channel on SiriusXM. Now, before we get to the actual show itself, starting in the middle of July, they started running Guns N' Roses Radio, and I was listening to Guns N' Roses Radio for every single day up until the day they took it off the radio station, and I was sorely disappointed with it. Even that being said, I still listen to it because I love Guns N' Roses. But when they announced the channel, they promised it was going to be this great channel with a lot of Guns N' Roses rarities. It was going to have interviews with the band members, and it was just going to be a great radio station altogether. It also was going to feature a lot of bands that influenced Guns N' Roses. So there was a lot of like Hanoi Rocks, there was Rolling Stones, there was Alice Cooper, there was Led Zeppelin. So a lot of those bands that influenced Guns N' Roses were played on the station. In fact, there was very little Guns N' Roses music that was actually played. It would be like one Guns N' Roses song, then 5 bands that inspired Guns N' Roses, and then another GNR song. And for the most part, there were no rarities to speak of. It would be kind of funny because you would hear Duff McKagan come on and say, hey, this is Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses, and you're listening to Guns N' Roses Radio, here's a rarity. And then they'd play, You Can't Put Your Arms Around a Memory from the Spaghetti Incident. I'm like, that's not a rarity. That's a rarity for a lot of people who think they're Guns N' Roses fans and have probably never heard the song before and don't know that it's a cover. And then you'd have interviews with Slash, but the problem is the interviews were so few and far between that they get repeated so many times. So this is a little snippet of some of the stuff they played on Guns N' Roses Radio if you missed it.
For Destruction turns 30 on SiriusXM's Guns N' Roses Radio. Slash on the band's first tour overseas.
I would get so drunk. Like, I tried to open the emergency door on a plane going to Tokyo one time, and they had to tie me down with those little miniature seatbelts. They had me in the chair, strapped in. On our way back, Izzy and Axl got taken aside and taken into those little rooms and strip searched and all that kind of stuff because they got busted. They didn't declare some gifts that Mr. Udo, the promoter, had given them.
SXM's Guns N' Roses Radio with guitarist Slash.
Then the first paycheck I got was the first real check that I got was the advance, my 1/5 of the advance for Guns N' Roses when we first got signed, which was $7,500. I had it all in traveler's checks because I had a lien on my bank account from another job so I couldn't put it in the bank, so I had it in traveler's checks.
So those are some of the interviews that they play in between the actual songs. There were no interviews with anybody other than Slash and Duff. And some of the interviews, like I said, were taken from old interviews that were not actually done for this channel, which was kind of disappointing because I'd heard some of the stuff before. So not only did they play Guns N' Roses music, they also played some live stuff from Live Era, which could easily be passed off to a non-fan as being something rare. The rarest stuff I heard on the actual channel was some of the soundboard audio from the Coachella show they played in 2016, which was kind of cool. They had like Night Train, which sounded great. They had, I think they had November Rain, and they might have had done Knocking on Heaven's Door. And then they had some of the live performances from the Marquee shows. I think they played Whole Lotta Rosie as well. But overall, Guns N' Roses Radio was a total disappointment to me and a waste of time. And they kept replaying the same GNR songs over and over again over other songs. Like, I swear, within the same hour, I heard Civil War like 2 or 3 times played, and which was really disappointing. Now, even though I didn't enjoy the radio station, they actually extended the date for how long the radio station was going to run for. So it was supposed to run just for about a week or so after the show at the Apollo, and then they'd ended, but then they extended it to August 16th. So finally, Jeff and myself decided not to go to LA because some stuff had come up and we just weren't able to make it. Plus, we were a little uncertain. Like, what happens if we go to LA and they do nothing? Because this is Guns N' Roses after all. They really didn't do anything for their 25th anniversary of Appetite. How would this be any different? This was before the announcement was made, too. So we were glad we didn't go to LA. And then the day July 20th showed up, and Guns N' Roses performed at the Apollo. People were wondering, is Steven going to join the band on stage because he joined the band previously? Is he going to make an appearance? What's going to happen? How are they going to honor Appetite for Destruction? And sadly, the show was exactly like the previous shows they'd played on the Not in This Lifetime tour. The set list didn't really change at all. There wasn't even barely an acknowledgement from the band that it was Appetite for Destruction's 30th anniversary. And the set list was a bit shorter than what they had previously played, or what they've played in the last year. It was only about 29 songs, which is still pretty good. But there were still a lot of songs from Appetite they weren't playing. Out to Get Me wasn't played. Some of the deeper cuts, like Anything Goes and Think About You, of course, weren't played. They haven't been played at all as part of the Not in This Lifetime tour. And then the show was just aired over and over again on Sirius XM after the concert was over. And Eddie Trunk, I think, did the pre-show broadcast, and he had talked about how the band had rehearsed I Feel Good by James Brown, which Axl's played a couple times. They played it in the show that I went to back last August, but they never ended up playing it at the Apollo show. Maybe they couldn't get the rehearsal done correctly. But for me, what was so disappointing about this show was that the Apollo, while it's a legendary venue, it has no relevance to Guns N' Roses history. You know, everybody thought they're going to do something to honor their history. It would have been cool if they went to John Varvatos and maybe did the old CBGBs, because I thought they played it back in the day, or even went back to LA and did a show there. But they really didn't do anything. They didn't acknowledge that it was the 30th anniversary of Appetite. That being said, and to be fair, they did release the reissue of Appetite, which is something a lot of fans had wanted, but that wouldn't happen until the year following, and it would have been nice if it just happened on the 30th anniversary instead of having to wait a year. But I understand it probably took a long time to find those old demos and remaster them and get some of those collectibles from some of the fans as well. So those are my thoughts on the Apollo show. I was genuinely disappointed with it, but the other thing I will say that was really good was that it was nice to see Guns N' Roses in a smaller venue. Like some of the fan shot footage that you see on YouTube, like somebody did a multicam full concert shot of the entire show. It's great to see the band up close rather than seeing them play a huge massive stadium. I feel like a smaller venue fits this band much better, and they sounded great and they looked great too on stage. So that's my thoughts. I just wanted to look back. That's something I want to do a lot more on my blog. You guys have noticed over the past week I'm looking a lot more at those anniversary dates. We did a post about how it was the 27-year anniversary of since Guns N' Roses played Locomotive live for the first known time. We talked about the headlining tour, the co-headlining tour that Guns N' Roses did with Metallica back in 1992. They kicked it off on July 17th, 1992 in Washington, D.C. at RFK Stadium. We talked a bit about that. I've got a whole video about the Metallica and Guns N' Roses tour. So also want to let you guys know we put up a True Story episode this morning about Knocking on Heaven's Door. So I'm trying to get through the backlog of True Story episodes I have. There's still a number of songs off the Illusions record I still got to go through before I really tackle Appetite in its entirety. So I have done one on Sweet Child of Mine, but that's the only one off Appetite I've done. Thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and let me know your thoughts on the Apollo show. Were you disappointed or were you happy by it? And did you get a chance to listen to Guns N' Roses Radio? Let me know in the comments section. Thanks for watching, guys. Have yourself a good one, and go support us on Patreon if you guys want to see us make more content just like this, and go visit us on gnrcentral.com for the latest and greatest Guns N' Roses news. Take care. Oh, and before I forget, you guys probably noticed on the Sirius XM interview they did with Slash, the guy who introduced Slash said, oh, Slash talks about his first overseas trip on tour. That was a mistake on their part. The first overseas trip that Guns N' Roses ever did was to go play London at the Marquee Club back in 1987. They played Japan in 1988 as part of their first headlining tour, so that was a mistake they should have caught.